The room smelled of antiseptic and wilted lilies, the kind of scent that clings to endings. Anna stood by the window, her knuckles white around the strap of her worn purse. David sat rigid in the plastic chair beside the bed, his thumb tracing the same groove on the armrest he'd carved with his nail over 30 hospital visits. The monitor beeped, slow and steady, like a metronome counting down the final measures of a life. Neither of them spoke. What was left to say? They'd rehearsed apologies in their heads for decades, polished them like stones worn smooth by guilt. Now, the words felt hollow, heavy, useless. Outside, rain tapped against the glass, indifferent, rhythmic, like time itself refusing to pause for their grief. 30 years earlier, the air had tasted different, sweet with garlic bread and cheap red wine, thick with the nervous laughter of newlyweds trying to impress. Their first dinner together as a married couple, and David's mother had arrived like royalty, draped in a coat that whispered wealth and carrying a box wrapped in tissue paper thin as moth wings. "For your new home," she'd announced, placing it center table with ceremonial gravity. Inside, nestled like a relic in a sarcophagus, sat a ceramic vase, unglazed, slightly lopsided, cracked near the base, though no one mentioned it then. 18th century, she declared, hand thrown in Tuscany, irreplaceable. They'd oohed and ahed appropriately. David had even leaned in to admire the craftsmanship, his finger hovering just above the rim, like it might shatter from proximity alone. Anna had smiled, already mentally rearranging their tiny living room to give it pride of place. It wasn't beautiful, not really, but it was theirs. A symbol, a blessing, a bridge between families, until the crash, a clumsy elbow, a startled gasp, shards skittering across the hardwood like startled beetles. Silence fell like a guillotine. David froze mid-reach. Anna's hand flew to her mouth, and the mother-in-law. She didn't scream, didn't cry. She simply pressed her palms to her temples and whispered, 30,000 euros. The number hung in the air, thick as smoke. Gone, just like that. David's voice cracked when he spoke. "We'll fix this, Mom. I swear." Anna nodded mutely, her eyes already calculating grocery budgets, bus fares, skipped birthdays. The mother-in-law waved a trembling hand, not in forgiveness, but in weary dismissal. Just make it right. They didn't ask for proof, didn't question provenance, didn't wonder why a priceless heirloom traveled in a cardboard box from the discount store down the street. Shame sealed their lips. Pride built the prison. That night, lying in bed, David whispered, "We'll pay it off in 5 years, max." Anna squeezed his hand. Neither of them slept. The next morning, they walked into a bank smelling of stale coffee and desperation. The loan officer didn't blink at the amount. He slid papers across the desk like a dealer laying down cards. "High interest," he warned, but they barely heard. Their signatures were shaky, ink smudged by sweat. That afternoon, they bought an identical vase. Same dull glaze, same awkward curve, from an antique shop 2 towns over. The shopkeeper shrugged. Mass-produced. 80s maybe. 50 euros, take it or leave it. They paid cash, hid the receipt, placed it on the shelf like a sacred artifact, a monument to their failure. David kissed Anna's forehead. "First payment made," he whispered. She didn't smile back. The montage begins quietly. A calendar flipping, 1992. Anna tucks a glossy brochure into the recycling bin. Venice, gondolas under moonlight. David watches her from the doorway, jaw clenched. He doesn't stop her. He can't. That month's payment is due Friday. They eat pasta with butter for dinner. Again, next frame, 1997. Their son, Luca, age 7, holds up a clay sculpture from school, a lopsided bird, wings askew. "Look, Mama, it's a vase!" Anna's smile doesn't reach her eyes. She hugs him tight, whispering, "So beautiful, tesoro." Later, she cries in the shower, muffling sobs with a towel. David stares at the ceiling, listening. He doesn't comfort her. He can't comfort himself. Luca, now 14, slams his bedroom door. "Everyone's going. Why can't I?" His voice cracks with teenage fury. David sits at the kitchen table, head in hands. "It's just not possible right now, son." No explanation, no comfort, just the weight of the unspoken debt pressing down on his shoulders. Luca doesn't speak to them for a week. They let him. What could they say? "Sorry, but we're slaves to a lie your grandmother told over meatloaf." Anna leaves sandwiches outside his door. David stares at the vase every night before bed as if it might whisper forgiveness. It never does. Friends throw a housewarming party in a sun-drenched suburban villa. Anna sips sparkling water from a plastic cup, forcing laughter at jokes she doesn't hear. David stands by the sliding glass doors, watching their hosts grill steaks on a patio the size of their entire apartment. Someone clinks a glass. "To new beginnings!" David's smile is a grimace. Their beginning ended the night a vase broke. Everything since has been penance. On the drive home, Anna stares out the window. "We could have had that," she murmurs. David grips the wheel, says nothing. The silence between them has grown teeth. Anna finds grey hairs in her brush, more than she can count. She doesn't dye them. What's the point? David's knees ache, climbing the stairs to their third-floor walk-up. They haven't replaced the broken step, haven't fixed the leaky faucet, haven't bought new curtains since the ones faded to ghosts of their former color. The vase sits on the shelf, untouched, unloved, gathering dust like a silent judge. They polish it once a year. Ritual, atonement. Luca visits, brings his girlfriend. She admires the vase. "So elegant," she says. Anna forces a smile. David excuses himself to the kitchen. He doesn't come back until she leaves. Luca moves out, takes a job in another city, doesn't ask for help, doesn't expect it. At his farewell dinner, he toasts them with cheap beer. "Thanks for everything." The words are kind, the eyes are distant. Anna wants to scream, to explain, to beg forgiveness for the vacations they denied him, the school trips he missed, the birthday parties where other kids got bikes and he got socks. She stays silent. The lie is too big now, too old, too heavy to lift. That night, David finds her crying in the dark living room. He sits beside her, doesn't speak, just lets her lean into him. For the first time in years, his arm doesn't feel like a cage. Present day, the hospital room is colder than it should be. David holds his mother's hand. It's paper thin, veins like blue rivers under translucent skin. "Mom," he whispers, voice raw. "Before you go, we need you to know, the vase. We spent 30 years paying for it, every penny, every sacrifice. We just wanted to make it right." Anna stands behind him, one hand on his shoulder, the other gripping the bedrail like it's the only thing keeping her upright. They brace for anger, for tears, for absolution. The old woman stirs, her eyelids flutter open, milky and unfocused. She stares at David, brow furrowed. "Paying," she rasps. "What do you mean, paying?" Inna leans in, voice trembling. 30,000 euros. You said it was worth 30,000 after David broke it. A pause. The monitor beeps. Once. Twice. Then the faintest smile touches the woman's cracked lips. "Oh, that." A dry chuckle rattles in her chest. "Darling, I made that up. Bought it at the flea market. 10 euros, maybe 12. Wanted to impress your friends from the office. They seemed fancy." David doesn't move, doesn't breathe. Anna's grip on the bedrail tightens until her knuckles bleach white. There's no gasp, no sob, no rage, just stillness. The kind that comes after an explosion, when the dust settles and you realize nothing is left standing. The monitor flatlines, a single endless tone. Nurses rush in, doctors follow. Someone gently pulls David back. Anna doesn't resist. They're ushered out, numb, into the hallway's fluorescent glare. They don't speak, don't look at each other. What is there to say? We were fools? We wasted our lives? It was all for nothing? The words would be redundant. The truth is written in the lines around their eyes, the slump of their shoulders, the hollows beneath their cheekbones. 30 years. Gone. Not stolen. Not lost. Given away. Willingly. Cheerfully even. In the name of honor, of family, of making things right. They walk out of the hospital into a world that hasn't changed. Cars honk. People laugh. A child chases a balloon. Life, relentless and indifferent, rolls on. They get into their old sedan. Dented fender, cracked windshield, upholstery held together by duct tape and hope. David turns the key. The engine sputters, then catches. He doesn't drive, just sits, hands at 10 and 2, staring through the windshield at nothing. Anna reaches over slowly and places her hand over his. He doesn't pull away, doesn't squeeze back, just lets it rest there, warm and familiar and utterly insufficient. The drive home is silent. Rain streaks the windows like tears the sky refuses to claim. At home, they don't go to bed. They sit in the living room, side by side on the couch that sags in the middle. The vase gleams under the lamplight, cheap ceramic, mass-produced, utterly worthless. David stands, walks to the shelf, picks it up. It's lighter than he remembers. He turns it over in his hands, studying the fake antique glaze, the clumsy brush strokes, the factory stamp hidden under the base. Anna watches him, breath held. Will he smash it, burn it, throw it into the river? He doesn't. He places it back on the shelf, exactly where it was. Then he sits down again, says nothing. She doesn't ask. The silence between them now isn't heavy. It's hollow, like a cathedral after the last prayer has been whispered. The next morning, they eat breakfast in silence. Toast, weak tea, no newspaper, no radio, just the scrape of knives on plates, the clink of cups. Later, David goes to work. Anna folds laundry. They move through the motions like ghosts haunting their own lives. That night, Anna finds David standing in Luca's old room, now a storage closet, holding a dusty shoebox. Inside, ticket stubs from movies they never saw, brochures for destinations they never visited, a child's drawing of a family vacation labeled Someday. He doesn't cry, just closes the box, puts it back, turns off the light. Anna watches from the doorway, doesn't speak, just leans against the frame until her legs ache. Weeks pass, seasons turn. They don't talk about the vase, don't mention the confession, don't calculate what they could have had. The house by the sea, the trips to Japan, the retirement fund, the college tuition for Luca, the medical bills they paid late, the birthdays celebrated with cake from the discount bin. The math is too cruel, the grief too vast. They move through their days like sleepwalkers, haunted not by regret, but by the sheer, staggering banality of their loss. No villain, no malice, just a careless lie, swallowed whole, digested slowly, poisoning everything it touched. Even their love, once bright and fierce, now flickers like a candle in a drafty room. One rainy Tuesday, Anna stops by the grocery store, buys 2 tickets to the local cinema, a matinee, romantic comedy. She leaves them on the kitchen counter with a note. 7 p.m. I'll make popcorn. David comes home, sees the tickets, stares at them for a long time. Then he picks them up, pockets them. That night, they sit in the dark theater, surrounded by strangers laughing at jokes they don't hear. They don't hold hands, don't whisper, don't even look at the screen. But they stay until the credits roll. When the lights come up, David stands, offers his arm. Anna takes it. They walk out together into the damp evening air. Say nothing. Go home. Sleep. It's not redemption, not healing, not even the beginning of recovery. It's just A moment, a single fragile thread of normalcy in a life unraveled by fiction. Months later, Anna finds a postcard in the mail. From Luca, a photo of mountains, no return address, just 3 words. Wish you were here. She doesn't cry, doesn't show David, just tucks it into the back of her nightstand drawer, beneath old receipts and expired coupons. That night, she dreams of a beach, golden sand, turquoise water, David beside her, young again, laughing. She wakes with tears on her pillow. Doesn't move. Lets the dawn find her there, staring at the ceiling, listening to David's soft snores. The vase still sits on the shelf. They still polish it once a year. Not out of devotion, not out of fear, but because it's there. Because removing it won't change what's gone. Because some prisons don't have locks, just doors we forget how to open. The lie didn't break them. They broke themselves believing it. And that's the cruelest part, the knowledge that their chains were self-forged, their sentence self-imposed. No one held a gun to their heads. No contract bound them. Just shame, just pride, just the quiet, corrosive belief that some debts must be paid no matter the cost. Even when the debt was never real, even when the creditor didn't care, even when the price was everything. They'll grow older, grayer, frailer. They'll sit on that same couch, watching the same shows, eating the same meals, and sometimes in the quiet moments, one of them will glance at the vase, and the other will know, and they won't speak. But the glance will linger, heavy, accusing, mournful, a monument not to a broken object but to a broken life, built on sand, washed away by truth, too late. The most expensive lies aren't the ones we tell. They're the ones we choose to believe, especially when believing them costs us everything we love, especially when the truth arrives too late to save us, especially when all that's left is the hollow echo of what might have been and the crushing weight of knowing we did it to ourselves. There's no villain here, no grand betrayal, just a woman who wanted to seem important, a couple who wanted to seem responsible, a family fractured by silence, a lifetime measured in payments, not moments, a love story rewritten as a tragedy, not by fate, but by assumption. If this story carved a hollow in your chest, if you saw your own sacrifices in theirs, if you've ever carried a debt that wasn't yours to bear, then you're not alone. Subscribe to Top Life Stories, because the most powerful truths are the ones we're too afraid to question, and you deserve to hear them before it's too late, before the vase breaks, before the lie settles, before the years slip through your fingers like sand. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, share this with someone who's quietly paying for something that was never theirs to owe. You might just save them 30 years or more.